So hello, welcome. This is another field breakdown by Ryan Greenspan of San Diego Dynasty and myself, Nick Slowiak of San Antonio X Factor. We're going to be covering the newly released NXL Basildon or London layout. This is the third event for the European series. You have a little bit more time to practice on this. You have 4 weeks as opposed to the 2 weeks allowed to us here in the US, but field's a little bit different than what we're seeing. Well, kind of a little bit different than what we've seen in this layout with the U.S. layout, more traditional big bunkers across the 50.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the initial layout on this right away. The first thing I noticed, Ryan, the 4 Doritos on the Dorito side, just them stacked up, those 4 big ones. And then looking at the snake side, I really like those wedges there are kind of across the 50 or straddling the 50-yard line. I think that's going to make for some really dynamic play over there.
Yeah, and it looks like they're kind of still inset a little bit, so the tape line's still going to be able to cover that. And actually, there was a field that I did a drill or did a little practice clinic thing on a while back where those wedges were kind of angled like that right there on the snake side. So it actually makes it so you can still shoot down the tape the way that those things are angled right there from the snake corner. So that's pretty sweet. But yeah, I mean, it does, like you said, it looks more traditional. It looks like more of a standard field. It's got a back line, although there is no Dorito corner. So
right.
That's the most noticeable thing. I mean, there is a Dorito corner, but it's not like, it's kind of like the last field where there was a bunker over there, but it's not really something that you can hold that Dorito tape, meaning that when you get down those Doritos, when you make it to I would call it Dorito 3. Right after the mini race. Once you get down to the tape line of the Doritos, you can kind of make a quick move down there. Similarly to how it was at the Dallas event. There's not much that can hold you down the tape unless you're on the tape.
Right. And I guess we talked in the last video about those moves around the corner, and we saw that happen in Texas. I can already kind of see that happening here with the way that Dorito side set up and that small Dorito being a corner bunker. But
well, yeah, let me just go ahead and share the screen right now so we can all see what we're looking at. Here it is. That's the correct one, right? Yep. July 2018. There's so many layouts, when you're going online, and I just want to make sure that it's the right one.
Hey, you got it, baby. That's the one.
All righty. So here it is. We're going to do the same thing that we normally do, which is just kind of look at the shots. Now, this field is going to be a little bit more difficult than it was when we were talking about the last one. Yesterday, where the shots are going to be more obstructed because there's more clutter, there's more stuff in the back center. So again, just drawing a line. Oh, that was really a line there. That was a pretty lousy line.
Are you from that movie Wanted?
Yeah. I'm curving stuff. It's just my all the technology that I have, which is just this. What is this, like kind of like the Max version of Microsoft Paint? This is what I use. But it gets the job done because, like I said, the best way to do it is just kind of like follow this line across. You can see right here as I bring from the back center as that's where most of your lanes are going to be coming from. As you just draw it across towards the snake side, you realize that everything is pretty blocked out. I mean, all the way, even diving into the snake, you might not even have a shot on that. So it's not even that great of a spot to really shoot that lane. I don't know if it looks how it is. I know you use the Guns Up app to kind of give it a 3D model, and you can wiggle around through all the bunkers. But just looking at over the top version right here, it looks like it's pretty obstructed all your back center shots towards the snake side. I don't know how it looks for you.
Yeah, looking at the Guns Up app, the one thing that I noticed right away, because it's cool with that app because when you're walking the field in 3D, you can set the height. So I'm at about 5.5 feet right now, and looking at it, it definitely appears that on the layout you're going to have a shot on the inside of the corner. Like there might be a little bit of a gap.
Right here.
Kind of, yeah, right there, like just to the right of that tower and over that pin. And I think I'm looking at it from the very back of the start box. So essentially, as soon as that horn goes off and you were to turn your gun, you're going to have a pretty decent lane right there.
Yeah, like right here.
There you go. Yeah. And you should be pretty protected. So it's going to be, I think, off the start of this game, you're really going to have to work on the way you're setting up off the box, because if you're going to use that back center can to shoot both left and right, you're going to, and we went over this this is a big thing that Nick Laval and Justin Rabikoff did in Florida at the combine, and then also in Boston at the combine. I did this with Justin, which is working on your footwork and the way you stack with your teammates on that box to work your way up to the center can to shoot both left and right. You're going to have to be really conscious of what you're trying to do.
Right. Yeah. And that's actually a good point. It's something that we've done in the past on Dynasty, and it seems very, very trivial and something that like you don't really think you need to walk through, but just lining up on the gate to make sure that no one's stacked on top of each other. It's not a bad idea if it's a cluttered, like a really tight back center, kind of like how this is, and someone needs to move up to the bunker to shoot and someone needs to be sitting a little further back. It is something on Dynasty that we do practice quite a bit. Even though it seems so, like I said, so trivial, it's like, where are you going to stand? Let's walk it a couple times. A lot of people, really oversee that. They're not really paying attention to those little details. But if you look at other pro sports, if you watch, football, for example, those guys are the night before, they're in like the conference room of the hotel, like just walking through the plays. So they kind of remember what the motions and how and everything goes, because you don't want to go out there and be too far forward, especially on this shot specifically, trying to shoot this corner. And if you're going to thread the needle over the top of this pin and through that pin, and it has to hit right on the landing zone, you can see that the shot is a lot better from back here than it is from right here. So the further up you move, the less of an angle you have.
Exactly.
And, so you can kind of look at it. Let's draw the line over to the left side. And here's another perfect example, like the back center guy, in order to shoot over these two bricks, he has to be up in the back center. Otherwise this tower will block you out. So if I bring this back further, that angle, you could see that that tall temple kind of blocks it out, but you have to be right up here in order to shoot it. And, vice versa, like you can't really shoot the outside if you're tucked into it all the way. But if you're backed up, you can kind of see, and exposed, you can kind of see the landing zone into that mini race right there. So it is important to walk that with your guys and to see the most effective way to shoot those two outside lanes if you're going to be doubling up the back center. One guy usually has to go in high, one has to go in first, and one has to go in second.
Yeah, and again, just like Ryan said, I mean, you practice it. Take the time, and so you can simply turn this into a shooting drill, running shooting drill, where you have the guys go to the corners.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need half a case of paint. You need a loader and a pod.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Maybe even just a loader, and just have everyone run through it. And if you're shooting more than 5 seconds, the drill's gone on too long for off the break. Those guys have already made it to the corner. You've shot. By the time you pull the trigger on the 4th second, that paint's not going to be anywhere close to hitting somebody unless they're walking, and no one should be walking. So, great point made by Ryan to do that, and great lanes and lines to look at, as you can see with the line he's drawn from back off the box and then obviously into the bunker. I think that your lanes are going to be a little bit better on the snake side on the break, because the one other lane that I can see using guns up would be to the right of that tall wedge. So in between the two, right there, yeah. And I think that's one of your first lanes you might shoot to try and catch the guy going into the corner to that snake insert bunker, and that's going to be a quick lane right off the go. And that would be a shot. If you can hit that guy, chances are the person coming around that can will be going standing up. And then the other thing that has to come in mind too is, as we're talking about the laners, if you're a runner, that might cause you, if you don't want to go deep, to come up and underneath that can into the snake insert or the snake.
Right. So just so you guys can understand, so the route would be, Nick's saying a safer route to get to this temple would be kind of up and over like this, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you're avoiding that back center's drop shot, kind of which would land into this area right here.
Yeah. It should be deep. Like chances are, depending on the body language that I see someone, because on this box, on this start station, you're going to see your opponents. You might not see the guy sitting dead center, but your teammates will be able to see that. So if they say, hey, that guy's standing up tall and not in that sprinter position or stance, which obviously, you can do some Jedi mind tricks and mess around with that however you want to run. But, that gives me an indication as a shooter on the way that my opponent might be running. So I'm going to have to either choose to shoot high for the guy running deep across that back line, to either the corner or that insert, or if I get the information that he's in a sprinter stance, to shoot low for that up and underneath run that Ryan is so beautifully illustrating.
Right. So So, and just so you guys are figuring it out, like as far as how to shoot off the break, this is another reason why we discussed this yesterday in brief in the last breakdown. This is another reason why it's important to get the entire team involved in it and really watch the spotters. So if you have if I'm going to be the shooter and I have Yosh standing behind me, we can run two spots. We can run to this temple, which we call the god, and we can run to the snake corner. Just run two bodies through that lane. And if I can figure out the timing, so that way I could shoot one shot like that, and then my second shot I can shoot. Let me draw another line here. And I can get my second shot onto the corner, so it would be like a 1-2 kind of thing. And I figure out the timing. Sometimes you can do it and sometimes you can't. And it's really important that you test it out first. So it'd be like a quick 3-shot burst here to this runner going into this god bunker here, and then quickly get your lane as your gun is ramping to the corner. And it gives you an idea of the timing because you have two bodies running through there. If you have a spotter standing behind you, he's going to say, you need to switch sooner, or your first shots were perfect, the second shots were late, or they're both on point. Or let's just shoot focusing on the corner guy because the switching isn't, that's more important and the switching isn't working. So that's why you want to run this. We'll run it 10 or 20 times, and then we'll get those shots on and shots on and shots on, and we'll really narrow down the statistics of how often we're hitting the corner guy versus how often we're hitting the inside runner. Is it worth it to shoot both shots? Do you have the time? And then you get a good solid statistic base. So, we hit them 3 out of 10 times going to the corner. That tells us our shots aren't great, but it also tells us that the corner is very makeable. Because if we're not hitting them, then the other team's probably not going to hit us as easily. So let's explore some new options. So that's why it's really important to write down some statistics as you guys are doing that. But definitely look at both of those shots and seeing how you can take both of them off the break if it's possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think now moving on, the only one other piece that I would say about that back center can is that you need to be smart when you go to fill out of there, because the way it looks, if you were to wrap around and play heads up directly across or directly back at your mirror, chances are you might be able to see them, or at least there's streams of paint. And that's definitely something you're going to want to shoot at and check off on when you're filling out.
Right. Yeah, that's something I hate is the guy quickly wrapping around. We get a cameo from Steve every time.
Steve Rabikoff likes to come in here and be part of the show. He can't hear you, but he's here.
Okay.
I'm listening to everything.
He's listening to everything. He's got this whole place mic'd up.
Except for me.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's kind of move out of the back center and let's go towards the snake side. The can has crossfield shots kind of dropping. It's going to be kind of blind, but dropping across into that Dorito side. That looks like a solid shot if you get there quick enough. Again, something that you need to test the breakout speed versus the timing. You just have one person, you have a spotter stand here, and then you run it maybe a couple times just to see if you're quick enough to get here and get your paint across the field. We don't know yet, but it does look like if you have someone quick enough to do that, you could probably shoot that. Same thing goes for a safety for maybe not shooting the corner as much, but possibly getting a shot on that snake one. This pin might be in the way, but if you shoot right here on the landing zone, you might be able to get as a safety for the snake. Again, this is something that when you're watching teams, their tendencies, if Alex Goldman runs to the snake right-handed more times than not, it'd be a good idea to come here and try to shoot that landing zone just so you have an option. This can also seems like it, I don't know, you might be able to see, I can't quite tell, this might block out a lot of view into the center, but you're definitely going to want to have eyes on a route for someone running out of the back center, kind of around this into this 50.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have a really good shot on that. From the looks, from what I'm seeing, I think you're gonna have, especially guys that are taller, being able to see over that cake. It looks like if you wrap
can see that
inside,
kind of right there.
Yeah, and I think you'll be able to see the outside, the left side of that back center. So that's gonna be a decent gap.
Okay. So as you're going in there, you're gonna see this.
Yeah, you're gonna see that.
Or as you're running out, you're definitely gonna be able to see.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see the left side. You're gonna see the gap from the left side of the back center to the inside of that 50 tower, and then I think for people that are taller, you're definitely gonna be able to see the left side of that Dorito Aztec, which I think
this
is
one right here.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be the tower. Right there. I think you'll be able to see the outside of that, which is gonna be huge because I know we're on the snake side right now, but when we go to the Dorito side, if you draw that line that Ryan does, or you look at the gridded layout, those Aztecs, or the mini Mayan, whatever you want to call it, that first bunker on the Dorito side, you can see each other tape to tape. So you'll be gunfighting. In this case, if you're going to the left, you'll be fighting left-handed right there. And if you lose that gunfight, I don't think the back center will be able to do a good job of preventing that guy from going. But if you have a code for have someone to switch, it'll be that can switching cross and putting paint in front of that Aztec, or holding that lane. So that's just something that I looked at using there you go.
Right here. So yeah, this is something like we have a call for this exactly. It's tough to get that across. I mean, Houston Heat does a really good job of it, and I know the Russians do a good job of it. But it's basically, as soon as your mirror gets dominance of you and you know he's going to want to move, you kind of yell something over to this can guy, and hopefully he hears you in time to switch and put pressure through this lane and catch the delay out.
Yeah, the one thing I really noticed that stood out to me from that can looking infield is because you can see, at least from the guns up perspective, and I think based on what Ryan's drawing and the way the layout looks provided to us by the NXL, I think you might catch a lot of people playing from this perspective right-handed. Your opponents on the far side of the field playing right-handed. A lot of players tend to want to come up high and play that high edge. And that's going to expose a lot of people's top of their heads or goggles and their loaders. So if you're in that can and you look inside, that's where you might be able to catch people right before they go to make a move. And it's just going to be, like Ryan said, listening to those codes, which are hard to get across, but also just having good field awareness and knowing that if you do, say, lose a body on that Dorito side, and that's, that Aztec looks like it's going to be a pretty easy spot to play off the break, that might be something to check off on. And don't just look at it, but put some paint over there just in case you catch the guy filling from the back center across, or from that Aztec either wanting to go forward up the middle to the brick or out wide to the Dorito side.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Thanks, man. So a lot of stuff from the can. Let's focus more, I think, on that snake side and heads up.
Okay.
You definitely, the interesting thing is, and this will be depending on how your layout is set up at your field, but I don't know how well you'll be able to see your mirror heads up. I definitely think you'll have a shot on them, but because there's a pin, there's also that tall tower. Yeah, that might come into it, but that's kind of like the back center too. Shooting mirror to mirror. Like don't assume just because you can't fully see that guy that you can't get shot both on the inside and the outside from your mirror. You got to check up on that. Don't just blindly try and make a move and assume just because you didn't see that guy there, or if you know he's there but you didn't see him shooting, that he can't shoot you, because you definitely can.
Another thing I was looking at on this layout is, I know we're kind of moving towards the snake side, but kind of releasing up into these center snake side towers, the cake.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think the cake is that great, but it's a good launching point into even this pin. Now, it's going to be difficult to tell whether or not this is a shot here, but this 50 tower, if you can get a lot of pressure, you're going to catch guys delaying, because a lot of teams, what they'll do is they'll send a guy out to the corner, which it looks like it might be blocked out from the tower, and then they'll go to the can and then bump underneath and across. And I think this is a solid spot to maybe lock that down. It's also not a bad spot to kind of come into this area and really be a thorn in the other team's side. It looks like you can also live in this wedge right here. And whenever you have presence in the center of the field, you really start to like throw off the other team, because everybody has to worry about you. And it's a decent way to get in there and really like take a lot of pressure off the other sides of the field. You've heard me say, make sure you have pressure down all sides of the field, and that's the left, the right, and even the center of the field, because once you hear that body's in there, everybody is trying to search for him to figure out which direction they're looking at and which bunker they're in, because you can easily bounce between. I mean, I don't recommend this center tower here, but you can bounce in between these two and even swing all the way across to this brick. It's not that it's not that much of a distance to cover. So being up there definitely takes a lot of pressure off of, your outside spots. And the Russians are a team that you want to watch when they're up in the center for sure. They do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They do. And it's one thing of just being accountable for recognizing how many guys break out left, break out right, and then where that guy from the back center is going. And Ryan, I like how you touched base on that tall cake. I actually like that spot a lot. Is a quick if you're going to go out to the snake side, I don't think it'll be too hard to kind of go out deep and sit down. And so the back center loses you to shoot a lane on the corner. I think you're going to have a really nice lane deep on the corner where not many people aside from cross, say that Aztec shooting inside, but I think it's one hell of a shot's going to shoot you. But if you go up to that tall cake, the thing that I was looking at, if you play inside, you can see both sides of the back center. And the one thing you're not going to want to do is be trapped in that back center. If there's a guy just sitting there in that tall cake, if you have 2 or 3 guys stacked up on the break, if you can get up, out quickly, jump out off the break and come inside to that tall cake, shooting at both sides of that back center, I guarantee you'll get a kill. It doesn't look like there's a lot of spots that can really put that guy in from that tall cake. I mean, the Dorito can't see you. That Aztec on the Dorito side, that first Aztec would have to shoot you from the inside, and that will free up your guys on the Doritos to make a move. So I think you could kind of, even though I know, Ryan, you said you didn't like it, I think that it's not going to be something I think.
Yeah, so I see what you're saying, you know. And that's actually a good point, kind of watching what other teams do. If you notice that teams are doubled up in there a lot or every time, if you do come here and put a lot of pressure on them, especially off the break, but that game plan has to be coupled with making it to 1 or 2 of the outsides also, and then putting the double pressure on them. So this cake guy will hold them in for as long as possible because eventually he'll be able to get put in. All they need to say is, hey, that center cake's on me. But you can also, looks like you could do it from here too.
Yep, exactly. I was going to get to that.
Yeah, this tower can do it. I wouldn't go to both of these spots and put pressure on the center, but you go to one of them and really lock those guys in there for, you know, the first 20, 30 seconds of the game while your other guys get established on the outsides. Because once you're – and we're going to be jumping around here a little bit, but once you're established kind of, I don't know, maybe not here.
Yeah, I think it'll be tough.
There. No. Possibly here.
Yeah, if you stand up.
This corner – if you can make it to the snake corner, you can just drop it in. I think there's that little lane that you can kind of maybe drop it in there. But that's the thing is you find a spot, 2 outside spots on the far outsides that can really put pressure into the back center, and that's where you want to get. In addition to that center spot, who kind of holds them in there for a long time, and then you really put the pinch on those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's going to depend on what spot that is when you actually get out there to the field and figure out what that might be.
Yeah, and then I think, say, moving on, you've got the snake insert in the corner bunker as you work your way out to the tape. I think that snake insert bunker is pretty straightforward. The only thing, I can see when you go out there, depending on how you run, you obviously, as we talked about earlier, you have 2 options really to run that route.
Right.
3. You can come
basically like this, or up and over.
Yeah, you either go deep, you cut straight, either go deep to it and straight up, or you cut straight right behind that can, or as Ryan just showed, in front of the can. Yeah.
Or this is the route that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and I would think
this is actually a good way to do it, like to kind of go and you can actually put some paint in the air while you're running this route right here.
Yeah, and I imagine that would be a delay route that you're going to see a few teams do. You'll have a guy sprint out maybe to the corner or go to the can, and then that player might sit deep. Shoot, run up towards the back center, and then cut up and underneath into that. Yeah.
And the reason for this is, Nick, just like you had mentioned, like if teams are getting really good at putting their first shots right here and then their second shots to the corner, you want to make sure you're not running into those first shots. So maybe en route to this thing, you come over here, you stutter step in this kind of pivot position right here, shooting some paint and then dip across fast. One thing that it gives you guys an extra gun up. It does allow the other team who runs to that same spot as you to have dominance on the tape first, but it's another gun up. So you kind of take it for however you'd like, but there's
a trade-off. There's a cause and effect to each one. So I think it all depends on the game plan. If you want to send someone wide or you want to stack 3 bodies on the snake side, it's definitely a possible move. But looking at that snake insert, that God bunker, you have a really nice gap. I think you're going to be able to see, if you're looking inside, your first thing you're going to check off on would be that can, the first can on the snake side. You're going to be able to see both sides of that.
On the inside, yeah.
And then moving to the left, you're going to have a nice gap. It's going to be right there between the pin and that. You're going to have the left side, the whole left side of that back center.
Yeah, so any team that delays quickly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of open possibilities of shooting cross. And then the only really other cross field shot I see is going to be on the outside of that first mini wall, or the only mini wall right there. Yeah, you'll have that gap going from that mini wall in the Dorito 2 to the Dorito 3, depending on how you want to label your bunkers. Then after that, you're kind of losing a lot of stuff. Like you might be able to see, yeah, you might be able to see the tip of that first big Dorito, but I don't know that you're going to have really any shots on the guy unless they're playing sloppy or you just, you got a G6R and you drop some paint in. I'm not sure how that'll work. But heads up, I like this spot heads up because you can see your mirror and you have a really nice lane. If he puts you in, I think it's going to give you the ability to peel back and shoot in front of either the snake or the corner. This isn't where I think the way that this field's set up on the snake side with this bunker into the snake, just because your mirror puts you in and gets dominance doesn't mean that you don't have to shoot or you can't shoot the lane in front of either the corner or the snake. I think you're really going to have that availability to do both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to worry about the Dorito side until they get to your Dorito, which is actually a possibility, and we'll get to that when we move over to that side of the field. Moving into the snake, you have to obviously worry about your mirror and maybe the can, but it does seem like you're going to be able to make it into this snake pretty easily. It's just a heads up thing, pretty standard. Coming into the snake one shots look like, let's see here. These pins are blocking a lot of stuff out. You might be able to shoot the cake guy. I don't think you're going to be able to shoot the back center. I don't know if you'll be able to shoot this can. The 50 tower blocks a lot out. The Dorito 1. Yeah,
that's going to be – I think the Dorito 1, depending on how the layout is and how much you want to play on the inside, you might have a little bit of a shot into the back center, possibly. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I think you'll really have is if, say, if I'm playing – if we decide to play a hold, and we're playing Dynasty this weekend in San Antonio, if we decide to do a hold play on the snake and say, Brandon Short takes the snake one on the break and he were to play inside and we don't make it any farther than that can, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Because if he plays inside, well, one, if we don't go wider than the can, he can crawl all the way down the snake and shoot us all, but we'll move into that. But if he looks inside, there's no way you're going to be able to fill out from that can to the snake side, and even from the back center can, or even from the can to the snake insert. I think it's going to be really tough. Even though that pin's going to block out some shots on the outside, the tape side, it's going to be tough. Right. No,
but that's actually a really difficult thing also at the same time, is to get that information to your snake guy. As he dives in, you need to be able to have a call that there's nobody in this can right here, in this snake side can, because usually it's the same thing as we talked about from this snake insert, looking inside really quickly, or that would be a good option for that setup that we were talking about, how to put that pinch on the back center, because the back center is probably going to release out to the outsides. That's usually where they release. If there's two of them, one's going to go out, one's going to go up usually. So if you go to this cake here or this tower in the middle and put that pressure on the back center, and you can make it to the snake off the break, you have a good opportunity to be able to shoot this guy moving right through this zone right here. But you do have to worry about the Dorito 1 guy. You can easily put your
absolutely.
Down.
And I think you actually brought up a really good point, Ryan, with the calls for guys being on the snake side. It's something that I've been trained into doing, both coming up through heat and especially now in X Factor. With the way that this snake side is laid out, it should be fairly easy to tell if the other team is taking the snake insert, the snake corner, or the snake. And when you go to that snake side and the snake 1 and you look down the tape, you can see all the way down the tape. You can shoot the corner, you can shoot, everything's lined up. So you're going to be able to shoot anyone crawling down the snake. So you're going to have a call for that. That's one of the most important things ever. If that snake is not hot and you have a call for that whole tape side. So you know that there's no one in the snake, there's no one in the corner that can shoot you from crawling down. You need to have a call for that, whether it be abracadabra or
100,
charger, 500, whatever it is. So you know that side's clear. And then another call you're probably going to want to have is to know whether there's no one past the can or past that snake insert, because those are two big spots too. They're not so much going to be able to stop you from filling or crawling down the snake. But if you know that there's no one wider than that can and you're in the corner and you fill the snake, someone has to know what zone to cover to prevent that guy from filling. You don't want them shooting the wrong zone, and then that can guy makes a quick fill to the Aztec, or they're shooting the fill to the corner lane and the guy from the Aztec fills into the snake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just so everybody's clear on what we're talking about, it's these two kind of zones right here. You want to have a name for this whole, well, it would actually be more something like this, so that this whole tape is clear.
Yeah.
Right. So when your snake guy gets in there, A, he knows that it's safe to crawl down without a corner guy shooting him. And B, he knows that it's something that, or the rest of the team also knows that because they're calling it, they can try to contain the guys in here. And you'll see that a lot if you watch game footage on Go Sports. When players are able to start crawling down the snake, and you'll see them go real fast. You'll see a Thomas, Billy, Chad, Brandon Short. You'll see these guys go. Well, I'm never really in the snake.
You said it. You could run around the Dorito corner and go down the Doritos, but you're never really in the snake. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go over there and handle, but
yeah, I feel you, dog.
We got so many guys that could, do it. Anyway, so you want to have a call. It's something simple, like Nick said, abracadabra. It doesn't matter. Ideally, it's something that's a word or a phrase that carries, preferably two syllables, something that carries and is loud, and that is immediate word association with, hey, this side of the field's clear, let's go. And then also, especially if it's off the break, if teams go short, then they're going to fill. If you shoot the guy, that's even better. But that if a team goes short, their plan is to move a quick body across to get through that zone. So we have Dynasty has both of these sides labeled. We have this tape labeled. We have this thing labeled. We have it over here. It's the same thing. We have names for each side, and I think most pro teams do. And that's something that everybody should think about putting into their team arsenal.
Yeah, I'd say it's a must. If you want to have the edge, you have to have those code words that mean something, and then you have to know them in the position that you're in, whether it's in the snake or on that side, given the scenario that the game part that you're in, to react to it. And that could be hold, it could be attack, it could just be to communicate. But that gives you the edge, and it doesn't matter what level you're playing at, whether it's Division 5-man, or pro. It's something that you need to work on, and it's a must-have.
Yeah, and let me emphasize one thing that he said, that Nick said, that you said, Nick, is one word that can define a specific outcome is more or less kind of what he said. One word that you can say to explain that there's a specific scenario. So instead of saying, hey Arturo, there's nobody on the snake tape, right? We would yell something like 100 or 500 or Raider or Charger or Alphabet or, Alpha, Beta, Charlie, Whiskey, Zulu, anything like that. You can yell one word that signifies that the entire snake tape is dead. Same thing for the Dorito side. Hey, Blake, so-and-so. And that way it's an immediate one word that can specify what game scenario is happening right now. And he knows, and all the players on the field in that point know what to do in that scenario or how to help keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. So to continue on that, with that and keep the ball rolling, again, from the corner, you can see down the tape. So you can prevent the movement down the tape. The only thing that you're not really going to be able to see, and I think we might see a few of these moves come London, depending on where people are people jumping over the snake 1 or snake 2 to go the highway into the 50, or you can call it the 40 bricks, or those wedges. I think it'll be a hard move.
That's something that was happening in
Vegas.
In Vegas, yeah. You kind of jump around this corner, and honestly, the only thing that can really stop you, it seems like, is maybe this can or the guys right up heads up with you. But if you have two guys down the tape battling down the tape, most likely this temple and this can are not hot, and there's probably not going to be a guy in the back center anymore.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that might stop you would be just someone in that Dorito brick looking in, if they know that the snake's hot, and that's going to be
right.
It's going to be one hell of a shot. I mean, if the only thing that's going to give you away is if you're in the snake ones and you're pounding the Dorito one, if you're shooting cross and putting a lot of pressure on that guy, and your opponents do have a player in that brick, and he goes to switch because he's going to have a lane, definitely into the snake 2, for sure. that lane's definitely there. So that's just something you have to check off on. So before you get up and you make
Right.
that move into the highway or even the snake 2, that's something you're going to want to try and check off on. If you go the tape and you go low enough, I think you should be good. But you have to know then when you get into that snake 2 and popping the top, your first shot is essentially going to be on that brick and then the mini wall just off and back behind it.
Sure.
Beyond that, you have the outside edge of the back center. I think if you wrap more inside and you're going to try and play someone in that can or that pin, you're better off just moving forward because I don't think you're going to have much of a shot on that. And that really takes you to the 40 wedge. And from the 40 wedge, it's kind of interesting because with the way things are set up in the center with those towers across the 50, I think you're really going to lose a lot of shots cross field. Like you're not going to see anyone until they would have to be on your side of the field, like in your Doritos. Like You're not going to see the brick. You might possibly see the Dorito 1 in the corner, but I think you're going to have to back up. You can definitely see the Dorito or the back center. You can definitely see when you wrap inside the can, the outside edge of the can, the tape side, and both sides of the snake insert. But if you're wrapping that much,
may as well jump into the next one.
Yeah, you might as well keep going into theirs.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point that you did mention too, is you can kind of back up and get creative because this thing's so large. You can kind of move all around this area, and you guys are going to see a lot more angles than what we can see here on the paper. So it'd be definitely interesting to see what people are experiencing and what they're finding as far as getting creative. But yeah, dip around this corner and get into here, and I think you're going to start paying off a little bit more, but even then it's not that fantastic. I think the end goal would be to try to get into the other team's snake. Obviously that's pretty much a goal for most people, but
I think the one big thing going off what Ryan's saying right now is when you make either of those spots and the other team knows about it, I think the biggest thing is just living. Because I don't think that those 2 spots are high reward for getting kills. But I think you can live for a while in either one of those. Even if you were to make your opponent's wedge on the snake side, you could tuck in on that tape and not expose yourself down the wire and stay alive. They would have to get – I don't even know if their Dorito 3 could shoot you. Their last big Dorito essentially on the 40-yard line that's almost parallel to you. I don't even know if they can shoot you if you're tucked in tight enough on the tape. They might have to get into that mini wall inside of that. Or come past it
here.
Yeah,
that looks like there's something you can sneak in
there for sure. I think right there, you can't hide from that guy, but from that Dorito, yeah, there you go.
There we go. So let's get this going here. So something like this.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think from that, the mini wall for sure you're in trouble, but from that Dorito, you might be able to live. It just depends on how that player plays that and what's putting them in.
Mm-hmm. Well, here with that, let's just move over to this Dorito side right now because that'll help all this kind of help solve some problems. We already talked about this tempo being the first insert bunker that can, you're playing heads up with your mirror. This is more or less a spot that you're going to want to go before you delay into this outside. So you send one body wide, and this guy can either shoot and from the back center and delay into this temple, but you're going to want to just have eyes up. With that said, it also can be a launching point up into the center here. So you can kind of go in here and shoot and move up into here. This is something that I can see the Russians doing quite a bit, is getting into this thing and just being a bully heads up.
Talking about the Russians a lot.
Well, we've played them 4 times in the last, two events. So yeah.
I like it. They're in your head.
Well, we played them twice in Prague. Or no, once in Prague. Or we played them twice.
We played them twice.
No, we played them once in Prague. Once in Prague, twice in France.
Really? I haven't checked. Yeah.
Yeah. We played the Tauntauns twice.
They beat you in the prelims. Then you
and then whomped them.
Then you said it was no problem in the video.
Yeah.
Oh, we played the Tauntauns? Oh, piece of cake.
Goodness. So anyway, yeah, you have a really good lane right here. Now the tempo can cut you. It can put pressure on you, but it's not a bad spot to go in here and lock this side of the field down. I think you have this lane right here. You've got this lane probably right here. The mini walls, mini races will definitely block out movement as you come into this Dorito. So you got to be careful of that if you go low. So let's come up right here. we'll jump ahead a little bit, but if there is a guy in the brick, and you're in this mini race, it looks like if you go low enough, you can get to this Dorito 2 and then practice this snapshot. That's something, as you guys BKi members have seen, when we set up like little drills and we're going to progression, like how would I set up a drill? What I would do personally is starting from this temple, I would put a target right here straight across from me. I'd shoot that, a quick wrap on the brick, dive into here and do the same thing. Go inside from the Dorito 1. I'd shoot at the brick. I'd shoot at the temple. Then I'd switch to the tape left-handed. I'd shoot at my mirror, wrap on the temple, wrap on the brick, dive into the mini race. Sorry if I'm kind of getting ahead of everybody. I just know that there's a lot of teams that are going to be practicing this weekend on this layout. And
you're doing perfect.
Yeah, some of the drills. Again, you're down the tape at your mirror, a quick blind shot wrap on this guy, maybe possibly wrap on here and dive really low into this. And as soon as you get in here, you're switching back to your right hand and you're going to snap shoot this brick. And depending on how many targets you have with you, you could see how this Dorito 2 has shots. It looks like straight up the pipe on all of these guys are in a line over the top of the brick to this guy, over the top of the brick to the corner. It looks like this Dorito 3 is what I'm going to call it, has a lot of shots. We already talked about the possible shot on snake 1, the definite shot on snake 2, but it looks like there's a lot of shots. You can shoot the corner, the snake insert, the can on the snake side, this tall cake. Possibly could probably shoot this wedge. Back center and tall temple are all lined up down the inside. It looks like there's a ton of shots you're going to have from here. And then I'd put one last target straight down the tape. It's going to be definitely something you're going to find yourself, or I know I'll find myself in this situation, kind of down on bodies or down on field position. One team is going to be quickly pushing down the Doritos. And what happens is when teams get into a position where there's no guy on the tape line that can see them, except for, the Dorito 3, and they know they own the outside, they're usually wrapping and moving. And that's when you're going to be able to slide, what I tend to do pretty well oftentimes, is I'll be able to slide past people's guns really quickly and make a really aggressive move and match the guy on the tape. And then you get this kill down the tape while the other person's playing sloppy. Because a lot of times, and I've been on both the receiving and the giving end of this, is you're expecting your team to hold that guy from moving. And, the opponent either puts a good shot on somebody on your team or puts them in and does a quick, big move, kind of almost a desperation move. But, a lot of times if the player knows that they're doing it, it's more calculated than that. And then you get this kill down the tape. So again, something that you want to look forward to as far as practicing is taking this little route here and stopping off at each spot, doing a quick outside shot, and then finding yourself finally in this Dorito 3 and getting the snapshot down the tape on point.
Yeah, I mean,
Ryan, that all makes sense.
It made perfect sense to me. And I think the one big thing, if you guys have especially for all the guys in Europe or anyone playing this layout, should it be released here in the States for you to play, if you have the luxury of having 4 weeks on it and you can do these drills, the one thing I would say is you want to obviously do these drills and work on your accuracy and your timing of moving from spot to spot. But also, if you have the availability, slow down just a little bit and just mentally check off on the position you're in and the shots you have. And kind of, you put the targets in spots you think people will be in, but also kind of mentally go, okay, well, if a guy's here or a guy's here, what can I see? And how else can I adjust this? Where else can I put a target to work on my snapshots? Because as Ryan was saying that, and I was kind of zipping around the Guns Up app, it looks like a lot of these spots from these Doritos, that the Aztec, the Dorito 1, the mini wall, and even the Dorito 3, that first big Dorito that's lined up with all 4 of them, you're going to have a lot of shots both on the tape and inside. And you're really going to have to, I guarantee you're going to have to make use of all those. You're going to see people, and you might say if you play the Dorito side, you're going to get shot. You might be playing a guy on the tape, and then he's going to come to the inside and shoot you.
Oh, you mean kind of like right over the top here like that?
Yeah. Well, no. I'm talking about, I'm saying more so from the mini wall, the Aztec, the Dorito 2, and the mini wall. When you get to that tape, because I think you said that one beautifully. If you're out wide, you're not really going to be able to see people. But if you are battling from any of those other spots, the first Aztec, the first Dorito, and the first mini wall,
Right.
you're gonna have
You have
shots on
shots
your
on the
opponents.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both sides of the bunkers. Yeah.
Both sides of the bunker. So don't let that surprise you. So when you're doing these drills and you're shooting targets, just pretend, even though if you might be shooting a target on the outside, also try and put paint on the inside of that bunker as well, in case that guy has a lot. Because with all this stuff in the center that blocks out these cross shots from the snake side, or for anyone in the center, I think a lot of these players on the Dorito sides are going to have the luxury of being able to shoot those inside shots at you and be able to contain a little bit from the inside before they try and make their move to match you or get out wider than you.
Yeah. And so just to kind of touch on a couple BKi things that we have that are available, like there's like I mentioned, the obstacle course thing that I released, and we have so many different obstacle courses, but one was specific to the Las Vegas layout. And I kind of explained it briefly here, but it's more in depth on the BKi member site, like kind of how to progress down there. And basically where you find problems when you're practicing is where you should set bodies up or targets up and then kind of run through it, especially on your own. This is the best way to get the edge. Kind of if you want to get more playing time, run these drills. If you want to be able to make sure you beat the other team and you're already getting enough playing time, run these drills. Also that high stress kind of target shooting drill is perfect for this side too, because oftentimes, and it's happened to me again, this is the reason why I set these drills up, is I'm really flustered when I do make all that hard work of putting guys in and jumping in here, and I miss this shot down the tape, and it's a huge shot because I'm tired or I'm flustered, or I get here and I'm like, I see this guy's back and I see the tip of his pack, and I'm shooting and I miss him, and then I come down the tape real quick to try to get that second shot and I miss both of them, or I get shot. So it's something that you do want to take a look at. There's valuable lessons on the BKi site specifically that deal with this side in particular and those shots in particular. And then kind of going back to what Nick was saying on the last layout, as far as kind of breaking stuff down, this is a perfect position, a perfect field to run some 2-on-2 and some 3-on-3 drills on both sides of the field, right? So you kind of cut the field off in half like this, and you play either the snake side where you start in your bunkers, don't break out. So start in like back center, the can in the corner, or the corner, the temple on the back center, and figure out how to stop the guy moving into the snake and how to get in there against your opponents. And then do the same thing over here. It's almost similar to what we just set up, is like maybe put a guy, say, oops, I'll get my little pen back out. Maybe put one guy here, and a guy like in the back center, right? Versus a guy in the Dorito 3, the temple, and the back center, right? So each team has a bit of an advantage, right? This is just a drill I'm going off the top of my head. Each team has an advantage. The clear advantage over here is for the guy in the Doritos, but you do have a guy in the brick to kind of lock this down. So how are you going to stop the team over here from filling into the Doritos and countering them? And how are you guys going to get past the guy in this giant brick? Like I said, these are just hypothetical situations, but as you play over this weekend, and for those of you guys who are watching who do not play the Millennium Series, the NXL Europe, my bad. Well, the Millennium did this also, but the NXL releases this layout, the Basel layout, 4 weeks prior to the event. So right now there's going to be European teams that have 4 weeks of practice. So over the next 4 weeks, or even just Saturday to Sunday, figure out what positions, because this is what I mentioned yesterday, what positions are most common in a 3-on-3 game, like as the game gets stagnant, and then start laying your players out throughout those spots. And for those of you players who are out there listening to this, and with your coaches or not, kind of give that type of input. Like, hey, coach, I find myself always in this Dorito 1, and it's really difficult for me to get out of this spot. I'm not finding any help because the other team is always in the brick and the Dorito 3 faster than we are. How do we stop them, and how do we get me help to get down that side of the field? This is something that I'm very vocal with on our team is, hey, I need more help over here, or hey, we need to do something. And this could be something as simple as maybe we should be in the snake more often. That'll take pressure off of these guys, and this guy's back will turn and we'll go here. Maybe we need more pressure up the center of the field. So it's okay, kind of what I'm getting at, to ask questions and kind of try to set the game up in scenarios which you see fit quite often, because just playing 5-on-5 points over and over and over and over again gets very monotonous. You really have to look beyond that and break the field down. So I hope that translated well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was spot on.
So yeah, let's just kind of keep walking up these Doritos. Obviously, this Dorito side, again, over the top of all this stuff, has excellent shots across the field, excellent shots when you're wrapping. They get even better and even better, I think, as you get up the field. Guys like this aren't going to be able to live anymore. More stuff might get blocked out as you get further up the field, but as you get up here, you're going to be able to start wrapping on this Dorito guy. And I think that that's going to be huge. The big thing is where to put your backup player. So as a Tyler Harmon gets up into that Dorito, the other team's Dorito 2 or 3 or 1 or 2, where does this back player here move to? Let me just do this, actually. Where does this guy go afterwards? So that's something you guys need to try to figure out. But, should he come inside here? Does he go out to this outside and start wrapping? Where do you move your support player? And that's something that's, I don't know what you think, Nick. I don't really like having guys stacked up on top of each other too much, because
I don't think you're going to be able to in this layout.
Yeah. I mean, almost just kind of sitting over the top of this thing, standing over the top, shooting, and just keeping pressure on here. If a player is able to make a counter move, that's when you quickly, obviously it might be too quick to alert your guy to that, but you want to come out on the tape so it's a trade out, right? If that makes sense. It seems like a solid spot to be standing over the top, putting pressure on, down the field here.
It's either going to be it's going to be interesting, because once your team makes it into, if I'm playing with Ryan and I see that I'm behind him, say he goes to that first Dorito and I go to the Aztec, and then he makes it to the mini wall and I go to the next Dorito, and then he makes it into the Doritos. Depending on where the opponents are, I have to really look to see for my role. My first and foremost job is to put pressure on their front guy, prevent him from moving, and allow Ryan to get further down the field to get those angles, to get those shots, either heads up or cross. Mm-hmm. So I know that from that first Aztec and from that first Dorito, I can shoot the players going into his Dorito, that third Dorito 3. I can shoot the player going from the mini wall into that Dorito. But once that player makes that move into the Dorito, I can no longer put myself in a position from that big Dorito to stop him from coming down the tape. Now I can move back to the Aztec, and if I move back to that Aztec, I can now shoot just a little bit on the tape side of that Dorito, but I can't shoot the guy coming down low. Mm-hmm. So I have very few options. It's going to be for me to tell me that, hey, Ryan, you got to defend yourself. I can shoot him if he comes the highway, which I highly doubt that player ever would. But it's going to be up to Ryan to win that battle down the tape. And then looking at all these spots here, it's going to be up to you, depending on the game, how the game's breaking down, on where the best place to be is. I really like the one spot I like. And I don't know if Ryan, if you agree with me, but I like that Aztec the best. I think that retreating back to that Aztec is probably the best spot to be. You can shoot the outside edge of the mini wall. You can shoot the outside, both the outside and the inside of the mini wall, both the outside and the inside of that first Dorito. And then you've got a decent gap into that Dorito 3.
Right.
The reason why I like that spot a little bit better is because if you get into that Dorito 2, the first big Dorito, the Snake 1 has got a really good shot on you on the inside. And I think that's your biggest risk.
Yeah, no, so I like this. I just feel like you're so disconnected from your player way up here. And just for those of you guys who are having a hard time.
Well, if you're that far up, I think you need to be in the mini wall or look to be getting into.
Right. So that's kind of what I was talking about here. Is I'm kind of putting up a scenario because I think these Doritos are going to be so fast. It's going to be so easy to move down this with no one on the tape. You're going to have a second body over here, really handling, like you said, you have a good job of shooting this guy. So if we can keep their team in the Dorito 1 and our guy makes it out wide, he's going to be moving down this field kind of pretty quickly. So the further up he gets, the more disconnected he gets. So this tempo is solid because you can put a lot of pressure here. You can put a lot of pressure here. And I like, all these gaps.
I like that I can see you too. If you make it into that Dorito, geez, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, their Dorito.
Yeah. You can see. I
can see. I would be able to see Ryan playing, and I should know from his body language and from hopefully from the kills we have or whatever's left in the game scenario, what's going on. The only other moves I think you can make if Ryan is playing and he's in that square and they're Dorito, I'm guessing that there's no one on that Dorito side. Like there probably isn't anyone left on that side.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying is I don't think that's the case. I think that if they're still stuck in this Dorito 1, you're still going to be able to move up this side of the field and you're going to get these quick cross shots,
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was talking about before when I was kind of discussing that drill where as a counter offense, moving down the Doritos and getting shots across the field and then quickly down the tape. That's what you're going to be able to get. I think a lot of teams are going to find success in getting into this Dorito right here before anybody moves out of this Dorito 1. And once you're in this Dorito 3, you're going to be able to hop down the tape because nothing's stopping you down the tape line.
Okay. I
but that's why I'm wondering, like, if someone were to make a move. Let me see if I can draw another line here. There we go. If someone's able to make a move from, if they're here, what's the best position to be to stop them from getting into this spot and counter you? And I think what you're saying in this Aztec, solid. This is definitely a really good spot. But with a couple of quick good shots, you're going to be able to make this move down here, and now you're matched up.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think that'd probably be a good 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 drill to work on that Dorito side, just as a straight up attack drill. And the goal would be, I think, to try and make it to your opponent's first Dorito, and then you can kind of end the drill. Because the only thing I'm thinking about is that being taller, what shots do I have from that tower? But if it's just you and your other teammate there, if it was just Ryan and I don't really want to move farther away from him.
Right.
My only other option is that big run all the way up to the brick to try and shoot over. Now it's probably got some pretty good shots, but I'm also not in a good position if Ryan dies and then have to battle that Dorito guy. And now he's wide and
he owns the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was going to get to next too is why wouldn't this be a good spot? And it's because you're leaving your guy really out hanging high and dry right here.
Unless you're trying to bait the guy to try and come get you, and he has
exactly. And that's another scenario thing. And Nick, I think you hit it spot on. Is this is something you want to practice with a 2-on-2? However, if it's just one guy here, I like this spot that you were pointing out, Nick. I think it's easy to get by. I actually like being here a little bit more and battling heads up, because when this guy puts you in, you can kind of be a little sneakier. So if this guy puts you in and tries to make a move to the outside, you can counter that really quickly and still have this shot on the tape. So because what you want to do is you want to draw this trade out, whether it's your guy going to get him or him coming to get you, as long as it's trade out, because now once these guys are all eliminated, right? You own this entire tape. Again, this is all scenario based. So that's based on the fact that there's only one guy here, but you definitely want to own this outside. Yeah,
no doubt.
What you were talking about, this spot is definitely solid. It's just you start to become more and more disconnected as the player moves up.
No, absolutely. And I think a big thing for either the Aztec, the Dorito, or the mini wall, those 3 bunkers leading up to the Dorito 3, is that on this field, the way I'm looking at it from guns up, is that any move that's made by that hypothetical lone guy in the Doritos, in that one Dorito, the Dorito 1, if he goes low, the chances are you're not going to see him.
You're not going to see him, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're in the Aztec, if you're in his mirror, or if you're in that mini wall. Unless you're Tyler Harmon and you're standing up with your gun up above your head, chances are you're not going to see that move if they go low and into their mini wall. You never know, but I think that's in zooming through the Guns Up app and kind of looking at it, I think it's going to be tough. So it's going to be a big thing. Just as much as positioning is going to help, but just communication to let your guy know and know that your job is to stay on that guy and not look inside and come off that. Because I know I've seen Ryan in this situation a few times where the move's made and he turns around and looks to see that his guy's not looking his way. And it's just a fun show. I bet you I'll be sure to have my phone on me this weekend in San Antonio to get it for you.
Oh, come on.
But yeah.
All right. Well, I'm definitely eager to hear how this field plays. So as you know, we're not going to be able to play it until, let's see, the day before
After
the
Atlantic
event.
City? Yeah.
Yeah, the day before the event. Actually, I'll be teaching a clinic on this layout with Marcelo at CPPS the weekend before the event. So
Nice.
you guys can definitely sign up for that and come up and get some insight. It'll definitely be good for Marcelo and I to kind of go through the lanes, but we'll really be showing how to break down a field because it'll be our first time on the field. So we'll be going over a lot of the shooting stuff, a lot of these 2-on-2 drills and 3-on-3 drills. So if you are in the England area, the Great Britain area, and would like to have some field time with us before the event, we will have a clinic at the CPPS June 30th and July 1st. And but before then, as the next couple of weeks kind of wind down, 2 weeks, the next 2 weeks, it would be interesting to see, for those of you guys who are members, BKi members, you have access to our private Facebook group. So maybe go on there and comment with how the field played, how closely accurate we were for breaking it down without seeing it at all. For those of you guys who are not BKi members, you still are welcome to comment onto our Facebook fan page and kind of let us know if some of the stuff was spot on. And if you do like it, we won't be releasing a second look on this one because we don't have any BKi professors that are going to be playing this layout. All of our attention is focused on the upcoming NXL Atlantic City event at the moment. But we're definitely interested to hear your guys' feedback and how the event played or the drills worked. If you guys are looking for more individual drills, obviously the members, you guys have access to all that stuff on the website. And there's a lot of specific drills that will help out on this field. If some of the stuff kind of we brushed over quickly, we'll be more in depth there. For those of you guys who are not members and you'd like to join, BKiPaintball.com, you can join there, enter in your favorite professor's last name along with their number, first name. So Ryan 18 gets you a free gift, and Nick
23.
23. That's what I thought.
I'm
Nick
24 this year, but they gave me the 23.
Wait, you changed your number to 24?
Yeah.
Or you're 24 years old? Don't look 24.
Thanks, man.
So enter in promo code Nick24 or Ryan18 at checkout. It's going to give you a nominal discount, but you will get a free gift sent to you from the BKi family, which is pretty sweet. And until then, I hope you guys wish you guys the best of luck at the event, and I hope you guys have fun this weekend and the coming weekends playing.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll check you guys on BKi a little bit later.